President Fong, members of the Commission, my name is Wade Wyckoff, Department staff. Joining me today are other staff from Planning and the SFMTA. Members of the public have postulated that the growth anticipated in the Eastern Neighborhoods Programmatic Environmental Impact Report, particularly in the Showplace Square, Potrero Hill, and Central Waterfront neighborhoods, has exceeded the projections anticipated in the EIR. In addition, they are concerned that the infrastructure improvements identified in the Eastern Neighborhoods Plan, particularly related to transportation and open space, have not yet materialized. The purpose of today's hearing is to present on growth within these two neighborhoods, including the growth projections from the EIR, the priorities identified within the Eastern Neighborhoods Plan regarding transportation and open space improvements, and the status of these improvements in relation to that growth in the upcoming Eastern Neighborhoods Monitoring Report. In summary, development currently in the pipeline is within the growth projections anticipated in the EIR, and significant infrastructure improvements are expected to be delivered by the time the majority of the development is initially occupied in these two neighborhoods. Slide. With that, I will first provide a quick overview of the Eastern Neighborhoods, including background, discussion of the Eastern Neighborhoods EIR growth projections in relation to pipeline development, and environmental process for proposed projects in the Eastern Neighborhoods. I will then turn it over to Matt Snyder, Department staff, and Julie Kirschbaum, SFMTA staff, to discuss infrastructure timing in relation to the pipeline growth and the status of the Eastern Neighborhoods Monitoring Report. Slide. During the course of the 1990s and 2000s, the Mission, Central Waterfront, East Soma, and Showplace Square, Potrero Hill neighborhoods were changing and seeing growing land use conflicts where residential and office development began to compete with industrial uses. The Eastern Neighborhoods planning process began in 2001 to try to resolve some of these conflicts while building more complete neighborhoods. Based on several years of community input and technical analysis, the Eastern Neighborhoods program called for transitioning about half the previous industrial areas in these four neighborhoods to mixed-use zones that encourage new housing. The other remaining half was reserved for PDR districts, where a wide variety of industrial-type uses would be maintained without competing with residential and office development. Height limits were also adjusted both up and down in various locations. Between 2001 and 2008, the year the plan was adopted, little development occurred in the Showplace Square and Central Waterfront neighborhoods. And as you know, the adoption of the plan coincided with the recession. Therefore, little development activity occurred post-2008 to over the next 3 to 4 years. Slide. The Eastern Neighborhoods EIR is a comprehensive programmatic document that presents an analysis of the environmental effects of implementation in the Eastern Neighborhoods Plan, as well as the potential impacts under several proposed alternative scenarios. The EIR utilized growth projections from the rezoning and height changes of the plan to analyze the physical environmental impacts associated with that growth for 8 topics. The growth projected in the EIR was based on a soft site analysis, that is, the assumptions regarding the potential for a site to be developed through the year 2025, and not based upon the created capacity of the rezoning options, that is, the total potential for the development that would be created indefinitely. The EIR estimated that implementation of the plan could result in approximately 7,400 to 9,900 net dwelling units and 3.2 million to 6.6 million square feet of net non-residential space, excluding PDR loss, through the year 2025. Within the Showplace Square Potrero Hill subarea, the EIR projected that implementation of the plan could result in an increase of 2,300 to 3,900 net dwelling units and 1.5 to 1.7 million net non-residential space through the year 2025. Within the Central Waterfront subarea, this is getting long, the EIR projected that implementation of the plan could result in an increase of 800 to 3,600 net dwelling units and 60,000 to 90,000 net non-residential space. As these next several slides will illustrate, the growth projections estimated in the EIR have not been exceeded by existing or potential future development. Additionally, much of the growth that is in the pipeline has not yet been built and operational. Slide. These slides will focus in on Showplace Square, Potrero Hill. This slide illustrates that some developments have been completed over the past few years, but overall not a lot of growth. Starting next year is when some of the larger developments are expected to come online, with the largest number of units projected to come online if they are approved in 2021. Slide.
You don't need to say that.
Okay. Oh, you're recording me.
Yeah.
In total, approximately 2,900 units and 615,000 square feet are set to be operational by 2021. Note these numbers and the central waterfront numbers are slightly different than the numbers reported in our community plan exemptions and pipeline report because of differing search criteria. In any case, the projections are with those anticipated in the EIR. As you can see, for central waterfront, a few more developments have occurred in the last few years than Potrero Hill. However, the majority of the growth is not projected to come online until 2018 or later. This slide illustrates 2016-2017. 2018, you get about 800 units. 2019-2020, an additional 200, and then in 2021, another 100. In total, approximately 1,700 units and a slight loss of non-residential space are set to be operational by 2021. Again, the projections are within those anticipated in the EIR. For new projects that are in eastern neighborhoods, this is the environmental review process. We first identify whether the project meets the development density of the area plan. This is through a determination made by both current and citywide planning. If the project is, then we conduct site-specific and cumulative environmental analysis to determine if there are new impacts that were not anticipated in the EIR. A community plan exemption does not negate the need for those technical studies. Furthermore, our analysis relies on the latest and greatest information we have available. For example, our air quality analysis relies on updated air quality modeling that was done in support of recent legislative changes seen before this commission. If new impacts are identified, such as for 901 16th Street, which is the next hearing, then we prepare a focused mitigated negative declaration, or EIR. If no new impacts are identified, then we can issue a community plan exemption. If the project is adopted, any applicable mitigation measures from the Eastern Neighborhoods EIR are adopted as conditions of approval. That was a lot of information to cover, so I'm happy to answer questions in the end, but I'm going to turn it over to Matt Snyder for the next portion of the presentation.